along with two senior officials over serious allegations of financial misconduct. The party's National Working Committee announced the immediate suspension of Gbam National Auditor Nnah Clarkson and National Youth Leader Atiku-Obi for alleged embezzlement, misappropriation of funds.
The decision was disclosed by National Publicity Secretary Rufis after an emergency NWC meeting at the party's Abuja headquarters. The protest turned into chaos and calm was only restored by a joint response team of police, SSS, and civil defense officers. Alhaji Shehu Musa Gbam was, however, stated that his suspension was orchestrated by coalition seeking to disrupt the party structure for their own gain. Now, joining us to discuss this is public affairs analyst Professor Simeon Nnah. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning.
Let's get your initial reaction to this story before going to the questions.
Well, when I heard the story yesterday, when it broke yesterday, I saw the hand officer and the voice of Jacob.
So who's the hand officer and the voice of Jacob in
well,
this situation?
The guy that is that instituted the problem, I learned from, the news too, that he had issues with FCC. And the chairman, he purportedly removed, and all the executives that he has removed supported him in that bid. And I don't think that case has ended. If I want to play the devil's advocate, I would want to say he's bargaining his exit from FCC with what he's doing. Going by what is happening in the polity today, we discover that all the opposition parties are being infiltrated to ensure that there will be no opposition in 2027. That's a fact that nobody can contradict, except the ruling party.
So how can political parties insulate themselves from external pressures that are aimed at destabilizing their parties if we're going to go by your line of argument?
It's a tough order because you will always have moles. You will always have moles. As far as those moles are there, it's going to be a difficult thing to do. You see, let's look at the trajectory of what is going on today. In 1999, something happened in Lagos. The AD then said, any ward where there is fracas, the elections in that ward will be cancelled. And we discovered that the opposition, there were two major candidates in that election. The current president now and the late, what's his name again? Funsho Williams. Now it was discovered that in the areas where Funsho Williams was very strong, area boys were organized to cause fracas there, so that those areas will be cancelled. So leopards don't change their skin. This is a political juggernaut, if you like that word. So he knows what to do.
Now, but you said,
and he's been using it.
You said they use moles. Moles are human beings which you use to destabilize.
Of course.
Cause friction within a party. But these parties have strong. They have constitutions. They have set.
The constitution says moles cannot be used.
Set guidelines.
Yes.
So if you have individuals that are falling foul of the party's constitution, they're disciplinary measures. So how do they...
Were you here in 1984, through to early 90s?
I wasn't in New Central.
Okay. no, what I mean here, I don't mean New Central. I mean in this country. You're just being sarcastic. You see, IBB said everybody has a price. And he made people know that most people have price, not everybody. Because he couldn't pay the price of Ghani. Late Ghani insisted that you can't pay my price. And because of that, he could not. And everybody that he reloaded into his administration, he made them swallow their words. So it's about money. It's about stomach infrastructure, my brother. apologies to Shokomole. Some stomach infrastructure. So once you pay the right price, you get the right modes to do your job for you. That's what's going on in politics. And look at Nigerian politicians. You know, ideologies. All of them are just looking for what to eat and what to, you know, show off with. That's the tragedy of this country today.
But up until this point, the SDP has been seen as, you know, one of the few parties without
any
internal
drama.
crisis, no drama, very calm. They've been used as an example of a model party.
Yes.
What do you have to say about the timing?
That supports my argument.
About the timing
just because the opposition now want to use it to launch an opposition against a ruling party. That's why they are destabilizing them. You see, the first move some of them made was to join the SDP. They wanted to use the SDP. Now, okay, look at what's going on. They wanted to use the SDP, and now they try to destabilize the SDP. Now, again, they want to register a new political party. I was listening to one, and the lady said, let's address a new party that will not register as ADA. And INEC is saying that they will not register the ADA. So what are we saying? You can see what I said earlier. So at the end of the day, you discover that something is going on. Or, sorry, the voice of Esau at the hand of Jacob. No, I said it right before. It's the voice of
I think we get the message.
Yes, and the way things are going, it's looking like the hand of Nebuchadnezzar.
So you discover that, you know, INEC does not have right to say they cannot register a party. They doesn't have that right. Because I recall vividly that the late Gani went to court when there were only 5 political parties, and INEC was insisting that they were not going to register new political parties, and he went to court, and the court said you cannot stop any party that has fulfilled constitutional rights not to be registered. That's why you have a variety of political parties today. So which INEC will now come and say that you cannot register a new political party. So you can see what we're saying, that there's somebody playing the drums for them.
I mean, in fairness to INEC, there were discrepancies in their filing. The letter was addressed to the Independent National Commission.
No. If there are discrepancies in their filing, what they will say is, look, rectify, not that you cannot, they use that word, you cannot register. So you see, at the end of the day, at times, you want to do certain things, you want to cover up certain lapses, but there's a way these things play out. You make one mistake here and there.
Are we going to completely toss away the allegations of financial misappropriation? Are we saying that that absolutely did not happen?
No, I'm not saying that, because it's not been proven. We are not saying it has happened. We are not saying it has not happened.
So is it worth
we are saying
considering and maybe looking
well,
into
let them look into it. The man was on tele yesterday in the sister station, and he said he's open to probe, that he has not embezzled anything, he has not, and they asked him questions as, are you a signatory to that account? He said yes, but that he doesn't sign. There are 3 signatories to the account. And he said so many things to exonerate himself, but that does not mean that they cannot still go ahead and probe it. But the question is, why is he coming now? Why has he not been there since? Why is it now that they are looking at the option of using that party to launch opposition? And then you are now destabilizing the party and saying they are not going to register a new party. So look at the nexus. You look at the nexus, and you know what I'm saying, where I'm coming from.
So Gbam is still insisting that he's still the national chairman of the party.
Of course, because the people that removed him, I don't know their constitution, they are not the right people that should remove a chairman of a party. I think they have the governing council, or whatever they call it, that has a right to remove the chairman of a party. In fact, you don't start removing a chairman by mere allegation. You should have been suspended. You see, that's why I say they will always be making mistakes, because they're not doing the right thing. The right thing that should have been to suspend him, and then now go out to probe whether what he has done is right or wrong before removal. You just woke up and accuse somebody and say he's removed. It doesn't happen in the same clan.
I mean, as an observer of Nigerian politics for decades, we've seen this play out so many times.
Yeah.
Is this situation, do you see it degenerating into a Labour Party type crisis where, oh, you remove me, I'm not going? Then you have conventions at the back of backyard conventions. You have a new party chairman, and then you go to court. There's this back and forth, and it gets very, very messy. And let's not forget that we're inching closer to 2027. Do you see a similarity between the Labour Party and this SDP crisis degenerating into a Labour Party type crisis, or because of the personalities you have in the SDP, like the former presidential candidate of the SDP and Malam Nasir El-Rufai, it will be nipped in the bud before it gets to that level?
Well, Malam Nasir El-Rufai just joined the political party, and from what the chairman said yesterday, he doesn't have any ambition. He has not told him that he has any ambition of becoming anything. But I can tell you for free, and you can go to the bank with it. You see, the next step that's going to happen, watch it. And when it happens, I will say, I told you so. They are going to raise a chairman now that they will now say is the constitutional chairman, and they will go to court. That's the way it is. We know these things. We don't need to be told. You don't say it all. The next step now is that before this week runs out, at least by next week, you will see a new chairman in that political party. And that new chairman now will now go to court for recognition. Look at what's happening in PDP. And both INEC and the court are speaking in tongues. Because the court said, it is a political party affair. Go home and resolve your problem. They went home, they met, and they said, this is the person we want as our secretary. INEC is not recognizing that person. So what are we? So you see that the problem here is legion. Whatever is happening in these political parties today, I can tell you for free that devil is in details.
So does this maybe strengthen currently the hold of all Progressives Congress? Because I would say it feels like almost all the seemingly major political parties have some major internal fracas going on. The Labour Party, we've seen how things have turned out. PDP has been in the eye of the storm, even though some would claim that PDP is still united, but even their NEC meeting, we don't even know if the NEC meeting is going to hold.
United
INEC is attending. I mean, it's like you said.
I heard the former commissioner in Rivers State. You heard what he was saying when you asked the question rhetorically if what happened in Akwa Ibom, not even Cross River, happens in Rivers State. What are they going to do? Are they going to, he told you that his governor is somebody who carries people along. So if he decides to move over to APC, they will join him. Was it not what he said?
Yeah.
So you see, this is about power. It's about 2027. And it's about, because they know that the next thing that will happen is go to court. So to avoid go to court, let me tell you. You see, the problem with our politicians is that I think they forget easily. They forget history easily. And those who forget history easily either make the same mistake or become history themselves. In 1983, a similar thing happened. The APM that was government in power, led by Shehu Shagari, wanted to take over every state of the federation. They took over them. In the southeast, we had Anambra and Imo. They took over Anambra. They wanted to take over Imo. That's one Abiko Okafor. He was in his late 60s then. He just wore shorts and the bowler cap. Went into Fedeco office. Then we had Fedeco, not INEC, and carried the ballot box and ran away to the radio station. And the late Sam Bakwe, that was the governor, now read the result and announced himself the winner. That was how Imo survived it. Now, Omoboriowo saga was something that would have degenerated to Wild West. And that was what led to the strike of the military in that year. Yes, 1983 December. December 30, 31st, and January 1, 84. You see, if they have learned anything, in Anambra, they took over. Wobodo won the election, they took over and gave it to Sisiono. And at the end of the day, there was fracas everywhere. Now, they want to go the same way again. Because what is going to happen now is that everywhere in the world, they rig elections. So even in the US, we know that they rig elections everywhere. But the challenge we have in this country is that we rig blind. You were here when a presidential candidate won only one vote in an election in Nigeria. And he was asking, does it mean even my children and my wife didn't vote for me? No, that's the kind of thing we do here. There was a lady too that contested election, Jibril who? That contested presidential election. She won either she didn't win a vote or she won 1 or 2 votes. So these are the things. So even her campaign team, they didn't vote for her.
Let's take a look at the situation again. Yeah. A lot of people are accusing the ruling party of destabilizing efforts in some of those opposition parties. But does that automatically, I mean, it's one thing to disrupt your house and, cause confusion, but does that automatically translate to votes for the ruling party? Because at the end of the day, it's the people that will decide at the ballot.
It doesn't translate to votes, but a house divided against itself cannot stand. And again, what they want to do is to ensure that the people that will create problems for them in those states are taken out to join them. You see, it's a different thing that, for instance, a state like Rivers now is a PDP state. I want to take it. You expect the governor to fight, don't you? Because the people will vote, and they will vote whichever party they want. But if the governor is from a different party, he will fight. But if the governor now has moved over, so when people are saying governors only have 1 vote, I laugh because they don't understand the game plan of these guys. Their game plan is that once we take over the guys that are going to contest this election, because the ordinary man in the street is not going to contest election results, are they? Have they been doing that? It's only the governor or the people in the state house assemblies or the people that win the senatorial seat or whatever that contest the election. Yes. So once they buy over these guys to their side, whatever you do, go ahead and vote. They write the result and ask you to go to court. Simple and short.
To what extent would you say that El-Rufai's movement to the SDP is in some way influencing the party's reconfigurations? SDP looked like a seemingly peaceful party. He came out and said he believes that the SDP is the best party to be the coalition. So do you think that his presence or as a member of the SDP now has in any way influenced the measure of destabilization they've been experiencing recently?
It may or may not, and I will explain what I mean. It may, from the fact that the man himself is a controversial figure. That's one. Secondly, because they know the kind of influence he wields from his bloc. So if he's wielding that influence and he carries that influence to SDP, there might be problems. So one of the things they can do is to ensure. I'm not a fan of El-Rufai, because as far as I'm concerned, he's not somebody that is straight for me. It's not, because I watched him over the years. What's that, his book, Accidental Civil Servant? I don't know how he will say that, because he was civil servant for several years before he was brought into politics. So he wasn't a politician from day one. It was his, stance as a civil servant that made Obasanjo to bring him into politics. So at the end of the day, I think they are believing that the kind of influence he wields from his bloc, if he brings that to bear in SDP and bring the people he's trying to gather now, there's going to be challenge in 2027. Because they don't want a challenge in 2027. They want a seamless sail-through. Like I said before, once they get these guys that are going to challenge the result of the election, what are you going to do? Simply sit down and write the result and call your INEC to announce the result, and then they'll ask you to go to court, knowing fully well that you will not have any result in court.
Okay, so let's look at the way forward now for the SDP. Let's look at what the potential is regarding reconciliation. Is there, what measures will they need to put in place to ensure that they reconcile within themselves, that they put system structure strategy to ensure that they have a united front? Like you said, a house divided within itself cannot stand, and if they don't resolve their issues, they're not going to either be this formidable opposition force or even be ready at all for the next election.
And to add to what Olu said, do you expect the FCC to step in, investigate, and let us know their findings?
Yeah, naturally, that's the next level of action. I've said it, I think, here too, that the security operatives are always watching the body language of the president. So if the body language of the president says, go ahead and do what you ought to do, they're going to move in. And,
I mean, the EFCC doesn't take orders from Mr. President. They have
says who?
No, they.
Says
I
who?
mean,
No. I say a no.
Why do we expect the president?
There are no. We don't have institutions in this country. We have been arguing that the institutions should be stronger than individuals. But we have heads of states that are stronger than all the institutions you have. See, he who pays the piper dictates the tone. That's why we are saying some of these appointments should not be made by the president. Because once he makes those appointments, he has the authority to make the appointment, he has the authority to remove you. He has authority to remove that man tomorrow. Irrespective of what the law says. He will remove him, and they'll still find a way of going to court to confirm that he has been removed. After all, they made a declaration in Rivers State before they got the backing law, before they went to National Assembly to get the law to back them up. So they can always do what they want and get away with it. That's the challenge we have. If we had strong institutions, it would have been a different thing. These institutions are not strong. See, let me give it to the current chair of EFCC. He was a lawyer, and I think to a little extent he has tried to, not go into doing dirty jobs, if you permit that language. So at the end of the day, they will step in there, and then I don't think there's any way to manipulate issues. They will give us the results, and we'll see what. Okay.
Professor Simeon Nnah, thank you for joining us this morning. It's always a delight to have you.